only understanding knowledge in this course. When you go into engineering, you really have to apply more, analyze, evaluate, and create things, right? I will show you the formula sheet that we are sharing usually. If you have past question, I really don't have questions. You can always depend on library. You can get the past questions from library. And these are the things we used to circulate. I also updated here. Formula sheet that I will be giving is this one. All of you, please remember this. Make note of this. We are giving you this hand. Okay. These basic units, conversions, it's good you remember. If you forget, you take from here. Basic conversions, basic equivalence we are giving, and also the constants, constants and values, right? These constants also we are giving with the units, and then the formula, equations of motion formula, some of the formulas. I will post to you this one in your CN today. You may go through once. The rest you try to remember. Okay, the rest, the basic things, even the acceleration I'm giving, velocity I'm giving, right? And then what else? Force also given, and we are going to see these ideal gas equation in the next chapter, and these are things, and this one we study today. Okay, that's all. But this is over. Maybe numbers I need to arrange it properly and then give to you. Okay, 3 pages. Any question? Later you can check with me if you have any question on this, or you can clarify right now. Let's move on to continue our class. Really running out of time. I'm trying to complete it within the time given. Maybe next time we have to fine-tune the syllabus. It's too high for the given time. At least the classes must be increased. That is also not possible at the moment. We left with 1 more week only. Okay. We must try to have 1 more additional class either this week or next week. Like you have Friday classes, right? You may have 1 class this week, I suppose. Maybe next week, Friday, I have to use it for additional classes. Right. Come on, we are here. Yeah, I added this part. You can go through how the brittle and ductile material behaves. We already explained. I don't want to repeat it again. Let's move on to the equation or the law that's governing the property that we learned. Okay. Can you hear me? Is it audible, everyone? Hey, it's very low. Nobody told. Because I go for the last class to the music. Okay. Come on. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Right. Yes. Okay. Is it? Oh, come on. Hi. Last class even more. Nobody for my class.
Okay. Don't mind me.
You did attendance QR code?
How sorry?
Attendance.
Oh, really?
You have to scan the QR code there. Be careful. Right. Start with Hooke's law. Remember this Hooke's law?
Yeah. So back in secondary.
Oh, you did already?
Yeah.
But there are people who is doing directly foundation, right? They may not know, right? Hooke's law is saying it's a proportionality, stress versus strain. Stress is proportional to strain. That is Hooke's law, right? And in the equation before, for some time it is following, and afterwards it is not obeying Hooke's law. Not working. You check in your the team. Last time you did it, right?
No, no.
The first time, huh? Okay, okay. I don't know how they managed. 3 were there last time. They may be using other venue. You check in your team, otherwise I will help you. Right. Limit of proportionality. Beyond this, for a small section, a nonlinear behavior, but the stretching is still elastic. This one, this is talking about the small section here. There was a small section wherein you can see inelastic or just started plastic, transition between elastic to plastic region. And then you had what? Yielding strength. After this transition region, you completely reach the yielding point here. Right? After this point, you already reached the yielding point after some time, right? I hope not much explanation required. And then ultimately you reach the fracture point after a long straining, elongation. There is no load change. For the same load, see the load curve is not moving at all. For the same load, only elongation is happening, deformation is happening, change in the shape is happening. At one point it fractured. The end of the story. Okay. Let's learn the theory and understand first, and then we do some calculations. If I have time today, I do today, otherwise next class. And remember the exam and the test that you're having next week. You have any question for the next week? It's clear, I mean, hey, next Thursday, If you have any question, you can either unmute and ask or just write in the chat box. Please be prepared. 6 and 7, chapter 6 and 7. Maybe the next one I give only 8 because I don't know whether I can finish 9 before. For the next quiz, which is 2.5, it will be very simple. I will try how we can manage it. I will, you just finish this test first, and then I give you information about that. Otherwise, you get confused, jammed. Right. If the wire is stressed at a point A on the graph of the stress is...
Miss,
Yes?
the test is this Thursday, right?
Yes.
Not next.
Next Thursday means coming Thursday, la, meaning coming
okay.
Thursday. Next immediate Thursday. 18 coming Thursday. And the stress is slowly decreased. The stress strain curve follows the dotted line instead of original curve at a point B, and there is a permanent extension when all stress is removed, right? And the fracture point, at the fracture point, the wire reaches the snaps, right? So you can say, I mean, again, this is going to the same curve that we discussed last time, two types, right? Who is jumping here? Right. This one, right? If you draw overall, if you draw this system overall, if you draw from the yielding point, right? From here to yielding point, we can say it is obeying Hooke's law. We can assume to be obeying Hooke's law, and it is linear, meaning you can load up to this point. That is the meaning we are getting from this test. I don't do too much on this when it is already over. Come on. Hey, you still suffering?
Yeah, okay.
You take this, the one desk.
Yeah, almost. This one, right?
Yeah, this one.
Yeah.
You take this desk. Open the desk.
Okay.
Right. If you can calculate stress. Number one, later I give some questions to calculate stress, strain. You can use this formula conveniently. Number one, stress is defined by force over unit area. Force divided by the cross-sectional area, very important. We are applying the force. If you apply here, it is cross-sectional area, perpendicular. If you apply here, this area. So you need to find out in which object and which direction it is loaded. So force over cross-sectional area. I underline this on it's not surface area or other area, cross-sectional area. Okay. Sometimes students make mistake in this cross-sectional area. Right. What is the unit for force? Unit for force. Anybody quickly? You keep it interactive, and then we are moving faster. Cross-section area. What is the unit for force? Newtons, right? So the area is meter square. End up with Newton over meter square. Come on, strain. Strain is the extension or elongation or change in length. Reduction in length is different now. Here is a extension only, elongation, extension, increasing, changing length. What is it? Simple meaning is just change in the length. How is it? It is calculated by, it's a value, it's a constant, no unit. Strain has no unit. Remember, no unit for strain, because the word strain stands for the rate of change. Or how it is rate of change? Change to the original. Okay, difference in length from original to end divided by the original gives you the rate of change. Hence, it is now unitless. It is called strain. Repeat, the definition of change in length to the original length is called strain. Change in elongation to the original length is called strain. Strain is a scalar quantity and no dimensions, just a number only. Come on. With that, you can learn what is Young's modulus. After Hooke's, Young's came in and he analyzed many materials and come out with the equation saying that stress is proportion to strain, right? Stress is proportion to strain. Did you use these words before, as notations before? No, I don't know why they didn't use it. In the graph we used, right? The graph we used already. Come on, sigma and epsilon. Stress is denoted by sigma, and epsilon is denoted by strain. It's like 1. Okay, remember the units and then you substitute accordingly. So stress can be denoted by sigma and then strain by okay. What's the unit for stress? Anybody? Unit for stress?
I miss.
Yeah.
I think the symbol for strain is actually that one is the sigma, I think.
What is sigma? Which is sigma? This is sigma, correct? Stress is denoted by sigma. Any question here?
It's pascals, right?
Pascal. Unmute please and then talk only, not beat. You are meeting 100 people, behavior, ethics. Just now I talked about ethics. Hey, come on, what is it? Stress is denoted by sigma, no question of it. What is it?
Pascals.
Pascal, yeah, Pascal. Unit is Pascal. Yes, correct. Unit is Pascal. 1 Newton over meter square is equal to 1 Pascal. The name was given after the scientist Pascal. All right. Okay. Hope you're following. The stress is denoted by sigma and the unit is Newton over meter square because force is in Newton and the area is in meter square. You end up with this. You can denote by Newton over meter square or Pascal. That's the thing written here. And then coming to strain, which is change in length, difference between the original and the final. We will do some calculation with it. With that, you will understand. Like initially, the hook, the beam was 10 meter, say 1 meter. After put some load here, you will have extension, right? It will get extended, right? Some distance. So this is a change. So you need to take this net value to substitute here. Further, you take the original to the elongated one, or just say difference between the elongated one and the original one by the original will give you the strain. Okay, because both are meter, this is also meter, this is also meter, you end up with no unit. Come on. Young's modulus. Sigma is proportion to strain. To remove this proportionality, he introduced, who is he? The gentleman Young's. Like, what is your name?
Yep.
Yup. And tomorrow we may have Yup coefficient. What? Yes?
Doctor,
What?
can I see the last slide?
Come on. What do you want? What do you want?
No, just confirming some things that I wrote. That's all.
Yeah. One thing I want to say, the slide I keep updating until the class, please pardon me. And the slides which you have can download from internet now on CN, a bit varying. I will upload it later after the class because I keep updating. Okay, thank you so much for the patience. After the class, I will upload this slide. Now he is understood. Good. Come on. Young's, substitute by Young's and you end up with what is called E times epsilon. So Young's modulus is different. I mean, there is a ratio between sigma over epsilon or stress over strain. Okay, Young's modulus can be calculated by stress over strain, which is force over area divided by, okay, it is much FA is my stress already, and then again divided by this strain. Let me write this one as convenient for me. Epsilon is nothing but this change in length to original length. Come on. What are the things you learn from here? It has some unit because stress has some unit. Unlike strain, where it is meter, this has unit because stress has unit, correct? Let me take this pointer. Stress is Newton over meter square or Pascal. Strain is in meter. You end up with Newton over meter square. All right. End up with what unit? Same, because this doesn't have unit. So it's already 0, right? Meter per meter 0. So you end up with only stress unit, which is also unit for Young's modulus. So I repeat the unit for Young's modulus. Better I write every slide. Sometimes students may take mistake. Newton over meter square is the unit for Young's modulus, right? Again, scalar quantity, right? And then it's only quantity, numbers, no direction. It's not a vector. It depends on the material used to make the wire, right? The Young's modulus can vary because the proportion of linearity may be varying. If elastic, good proportion. Plastic, very non-linear, right? Suddenly start breaking. So strain is more than stress in plastics. So the value will be changing for material to material. Higher the value of Young's modulus, more the material elongate or deviate or deform. Okay, because the strain is here, right? Strain is here, stress is at the top. If you apply more, right? If I mean the value of elasticity is more, then the strain will be less. If elasticity is less, suddenly broken. Strain will be more. Okay, come on. This is a question, very good question to answer. You want to answer for this question now, or you can do it lastly? Just Young's modulus, determine the Young's modulus. Write down the given data, and then we can calculate the Young's modulus. Can anyone calculate and tell me? Or we hold the calculation for now, because you learn some more density, weight, everything you learn some more. Then you get familiarized with the term, right? I hold the calculation last. All right. Any question in the solids? I stop here. I solve questions related to determining Young's modulus, stress, strain will be the most common questions surrounding this chapter. Any question in the solids? I stop here for solids. Let me open for fluids. At the end of the class, we will do this one. I'm afraid we can finish by today, fluids or not. Okay. So ready to attend one more class by Friday next week, okay, so that we can have more calculations or additional classes we can have. Come on, fluids. Any question from anybody? Just hold on for calculation. Well, no question, then I continue. Next topic, part B in chapter 8, the same chapter is mechanical properties of fluids, which is also important to learn some implications and the basics. If you have done your A level or 12th standard, year 2, year 12 or STPM, it is easier and you already studied. I am going to repeat or just add some more only if you have done higher levels, because it's foundation. There are many people who are directly from O level and 10th standard, right? Come on, let's do this part. Start with property, the number one property. Not this one, one moment. Start with density of the material. Density of the material is defined by mass over volume. That means what? How much mass is occupied in a given volume. That determines the density. So remember the units. Density of any material and fluid properties will be defined by how much mass is occupying in a given volume. It may be a circular tube or helical, conical tank, right? Or if it is a air, it may be a duct. For example, you're designing a duct, air conditioner. It may be a square or rectangular duct, and so on. So it is how much volume the given mass can occupy determines the density. Example, density for water is 1000 kilogram per meter cube. The SI unit is kilogram per meter cube. Please remember this, kilogram per meter cube. Either you use the -3 or just simply write down like this over meter cube. Okay, gram per cc also you can use it, but mostly this is micro calculations. Majority we use kilogram per meter cube as the unit for density. how dense it is, what is the population density, right? How much people are living in one country, one land area, density. Example densities, come on, water, already told you. Okay, here the room temperature, all this 2020 are room temperature, but it varies from country to country. Eastern and Western countries, they use 20. Malaysian 25. India, if you go, it will be higher, 36. So room temperature varies from countries to country, doesn't matter. But at the room temperature, the pressure value is this one. Come on, start from, sorry, not pressure, density. Where is water? Water is not given here. Water 1000 kilogram per meter cube. Okay, at room temperature, water you can take it to be 1000 kilogram per meter cube. Other than that, iron, ice, whole blood is see 10,000 is 10,000. Whole blood is denser than the water. Like that, you can understand the meaning of density. How about oil? Anybody? Any oil? Mineral oil or castor oil or crude oil? Petrol? Oil is denser than water or lighter than water? Wrong answer. You spray oil in the water, floats or sinks? Means?
Less dense.
Ah. Maybe you think in the appearance, castor oil is very thick, slow moving. No, I'm talking about density. I don't go into weight and mass. We are still in density. When you talk about density, good example, pour oil and the water floats because less dense. When water is having 1000, while oil maybe 970, 960, something like that. I will give you the examples later. I mean, you can read from the textbook, but not many information right now. Okay, but understand that oil is less dense than water. Oh, more explanation I have given here. If you want, you can take from here as well. It is the term notation is rho. I even write down what it is. Maybe I delete this slide. I already keep here. I plan to delete and rewrite it. Okay, like this. Okay. So the material mass possessed than water, density of water is 1000. It keeps changing for material to material. All these things you understand, please. And then the example one. Next, you have to know the property is weight. Weight also governs, right? Weight is important in handling the fluid. See why we need all these property to handle, to manage, to use it. According to Newton's second law of motion, we can calculate the weight as mass into acceleration, which is mass mg m. What's happening? I'm going fast. Am I going fast? You can follow, right? Answer la. Mute all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going fast. Oh, sorry la. Okay, I go slowly. Come on. Where is it? Mechanical properties. Here, right? Let me close these solids. Sorry, I go slow down. Thanks for your information. Come on. Weight. Weight is m times g. Okay, the simple formula. It is like mass, but include gravity. You get what is called weight because there is some force in it. Okay, there is some force in it. Hence, you need to include the gravity. When you include the gravity, initially it was mass, some kind of mass in kg. But when you times the g, value of g, what is the value of g? 9.81. It is all in your formula book, don't worry. Meter per second square, always write with the units. G 9.81, automatically it is changed to what is called, here you can see m is denoted by mass, m is denoted by mass, g is the acceleration due to gravity denoted by meter per second square. This acceleration due to gravity you already studied in last chapter, angular momentum. I remember I added one slide. The value, the notation, everything is there, you can check, right? Having understood what is g, the gravity, acceleration due to gravity, and the value is equal to 9.81 into, the unit is meter per second square. If you substitute the value of kilogram meters per second square is equal to 1 newtons. Okay, we see engineers are lazy, at the same time they are lazy. They cannot use always this much. So much kilogram meter per second square is my weight. So much kilogram meter per second square is the force acting due to weight. No, instead we can call by newtons. That's why what they did, they equated 1 kilogram, 1 kilogram, they equated 1 kilogram meter per second square as 1 newtons. 1 kilogram meter per second square is equal to 1 newtons. The equivalence, I repeat, I will do the derivation later. For now, just hold like this. Hold on for a while. I repeat, weight is denoted by m times g. Each unit is substituted. End up with so much newtons. Okay, remember this point. That's why you see in textbooks, force is denoted by newtons. Mass is denoted by kg. Any question here?
Miss,
Yeah.
for the value of G,
Mm.
do we use 9.81 or 9.8?
You can use any one, no issue. That's why I say in answers, we always have some range of answers to be correct when marking, don't worry. You can, for betterment, you use always 9.81.
Okay, thank you, Miss.
10 you 10 over approximation. Yeah, when you talk to subordinate or laborer, times 10 you can quickly say, but when you calculate design things, must use exactly 9.81. Even the 0.2 is matter. Nanotechnology, no, is 0.2 is matter. So always use 9.81. All right, come on, but don't use 10. You can use 9.8. Right. Come on, next gentlemen, we are studying is specific weight. These are all going to support your definition later on. Any question you clarify right now. We studied density, we studied weight. Now we are moving on to specific weight. The specific weight is something similar to density. What is a unit for density, gentlemen? Wait, I remember the name. Who was absent last class? Anyone absent last class? Answer me. What is the unit for density? This one, kilogram per meter cube. It is something similar to density, right? But with force. Come on, let's see. Gamma is equal to rho g. All right, gamma is equal to rho g, where specific weight is denoted by Newton per meter cube. How? Because density is kilogram per meter cube times acceleration due to gravity, which is meter per second square, Put together, you get what is called Newton over meter cube. Because 1 Newton is already kilogram meter per second square. I write here. When you write the units here, I try to solve here. Kilogram density is denoted by kilogram per meter cube. Density is denoted by kilogram per meter cube, right? Meter cube. And then your gentleman G is meter per second square. Put together, all right, and you join these guys and these guys together, you end up with what is called Newton over meter cube. What's happening? Okay, because 1 Newton is equal to 1 kilogram meter per second square. So Newton over meter cube. Is this clear?
Doctor?
Yeah.
So we basically multiply the density by 9.81, right?
Yes. No. Yeah, density times 9.81. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, gravitational constant is same. No change everywhere. You work in Europe, you work in Asia, you work in Myanmar. G is always 9.81. Gravitational constant. Not gravitational constant. Acceleration due to gravity. Gravitational constant is totally different. Environment,
Thank you.
atmosphere. This is for the objects that you're handling, material you're handling. The material, when you're handling, you can use G as acceleration due to gravity as 9.81 Newton per meter square. Sorry, where is it? Meter per second square. 9.81 is equal to, I write here, 9.81 meter per second square. Okay, done. Come on. Having understood specific weight, later I will ask the same question. What is specific weight? You have to answer me. I repeat, something similar to kilogram, where kilogram means, sorry, density. Density is denoted by kilogram per meter cube. But because it's to specific weight or unit weight, the term weight, you use the force unit, which is Newton over meter cube. Like that you remember. And the value of specific weight for water is 9810 Newton over meter cube, or 9.81 kilonewton per meter cube. We all use this term, only very convenient for me to use. What is the unit weight of water or specific weight of water? We use this one. 9.81 kilonewton over meter cube, which is more convenient for engineers or scientists to use it than the big number, right? Okay, either you can write it in terms of newtons or kilonewtons. Clear? Shall we move on? Come on, so far I was shouting kilogram meter per second square is 1 Newton. How is it? Come on, let's have the equivalent. When you have mg, right? This is one. Gamma is equal to rho times g. Expand rho. Rho is m over v, right? What is m? What is m? G, kg, and g is meter per second square. V is meter cube. Yeah, just now also I wrote already. So you can combine these into one force, which is newtons. The rest follows. So you end up with 1 Newton per meter cube. Okay, same as the last one I explained. It is written here, typed and clear. Okay. We pronounce this as a gamma. Gamma is specific weight or unit weight of the fluid. Here is the fluid. Forget about solids for a while or matter in common. We are talking about fluids, which is flowing, which is running, and then which is incompressible. I do only liquids, not gaseous at the moment at this chapter. It's only incompressible liquids I'm doing. And this one is the gravity. So we substitute the units. We get specific weight of the, we call this as a, I forgot the term, but we use this as a fluid that is under study or sample fluid, okay, sample liquid, right? On examples, just now I show you water, 9.81 kilo. See, there are two systems in this module. The scope is to use only SI system of units, international system of units. This imperial is used in UK. If you are posted in UK, you have to use these terms in your design, drawing, planning, and everything. If you are in Western, right, they use SI system. Asia also using SI system. Sometimes metric system in Australia, right? Walden system, they use metric system, right? Feet furlong, like that. But this one is purely SI system, which has meters, newtons, second, kgs, and so on, right? Come on. The force is denoted by newtons in SI system. So the water has 9.81 kilonewton per meter cube of specific weight or unit weight of the fluid. Come on. I told you oil, right? Come to oil. Where is this oil? And this one is the oil, your fuel used for your engines, the car engines. See, 8.95. This is 9.81. This is 8.5. So lighter. Okay, lighter than water. Gasoline. Alcoholic substances, still lesser weight because of less dense, because your gamma is rho times g, right? As dense less, weight also less. Clear, everyone? Properties, there are so many you can learn, but I brought only 3 or 4 here for your understanding related to the principles you're going to learn. Clear so far? Any questions so far?
No, I mean the unit conversions. Do we need to know like how many physics are in like?
No need to know. We should not give in. We will not give in feet or furlong or pounds. If at all we give the equivalents. You learn only SI system. It is good you are learning yourself. If you are getting posted in a job looking for somewhere in UK or where imperial system is followed, you can learn yourself, right? But in our class and assessment, we don't give other system. If at all given, we give the equivalents. All right. But we follow strictly SI system. By procedure, we follow only SI system. Don't worry. Right. Any other question? right? Pressure, very important topic in water, liquids. Pressure is the most significant force. Like when you talk about satellite motion, last time we had one topic on motion in circle. The topic is on gravitation, right? We immediately talk about gravitational force only, nothing else. I never talk about pressure there. But when you come to pipes, the significant force that is acting, the water flow or liquid flow. Liquid maybe here it is handling, processing, filling, pumping out oil, pumping out water. All are examples of liquids, using liquids, processing liquids. Okay, in that you already know some properties, right? Just now you learned properties. Now you're going to see how they are going to behave, how they're going to react when it is pushed into pipe, when it is open to atmosphere, when it is flow by gravity, how it is going to behave, what is significant force acting, what is the reaction. Just few principles you want to learn. Number one is a Pascal's law that we are going to learn now. Very interesting phenomenon. With that, there are many applications. That is the most important thing why you have to learn. There are many applications in our day-to-day life, and in future, that's why you have to learn the basic principles of Pascal's law. Come on. Pressure. A fluid or liquid or gas exerts pressure on the wall of its containers or any surface with which it is in contact, right? When it is put into the, when the water is supplied to the pipes or when it is stored in the tank, always it is acting, right? There is some weight in the molecules of the water, molecules of the liquid that it is stored or it is supplied. Hence, it is always acting, exerting a force onto the walls or the bottom surface or the sides. A big force on a smaller area produces a high pressure. Normal force acting per unit area of cross section. These are the things you remember. Now you're going to demonstrate and learn how it is technically, mathematically proven. I repeat, a big force on a small area produces high pressure. No matter the area, if the force is very high, you end up with high pressure. You don't believe me now, you just wait for a while. Normal force acting per unit cross section. So we are talking about pressure acting perpendicular to the cross section, nothing else. I'm not talking about pressure along the pipeline or something else. It is the pressure acting perpendicular to the cross section, right? We can define the pressure by force over area, force over cross sectional area. If in SI system, the force is denoted by newtons and area is in pascals. Hence, you end up with pressure is equal to Newton over meter square. All right. So pressure can be defined as Newton over meter square. 1 atmospheric pressure is 101 kilopascal or 1.01 to 10 power 5 pascals. This much pressure is acting on every body on the earth, and we are reacting to it. That's why I can move, I can do my job. If I don't react, I will be floating or doing something else, right? So these are the basic things that you have to remember. 1 Pascal is 1 Newton of force per square meter, right? Okay, if 1 Newton is applied over a 1 meter, Newton meters, 1 meter square area, like 1 by 1, say 1 by 1 panel, there is a force acting on it, right? A water supplied to a surface, maybe water jet is passed onto the surface of 1 by 1, then it will act on all points of the body, and the net force that is acting at the middle, the resultant force that is acting at the middle is taken as the net force acting on the body. That those elaborate study you will do later, but understand the basic. Number one, pressure is, where is it? Pressure is defined by force over area. It is always acting perpendicular to the cross-section area. And number two is acting at a point. That is very important. Students get confused between these terms only. It is acting at a point, right? Pressure is acting at a point, and so the force over unit area. If you want a resultant, follow the center of the body where the resultant is acting. Calculate the force over the cross-section area, can give you the total pressure on the body or the area. Okay, and is denoted by Newton over meter square. Any question here? Just hold on for a while and have some more information in it. These are the pressure.
Do we need to memorize them?
Which one?
All of these.
What do you mean memorize?
The
Definition.
pressure, the values of.
Understand and memorize. That's what I can say.
No, the next page. The next
The
page.
exam is recall. Exam you have to do recall. That's why. But I say first understand and then memorize. I don't ask definition of pressure for your information. Please note this. I don't ask for definition of pressure. Rather, I will say is force over area is pressure like that. So,
What I mean is the next page. Yeah, this one.
Good question you asked. Very good. Because you're worried about assessment. No need. Come on. Don't worry. No need to understand. I mean, by heart these numbers for your information and know the variation only. Okay. Good. Come on. Let's move on to Pascal's law, which is so much interesting to learn. With that, there are so many applications. Due to Pascal's law, I can have hydraulic lift, hydraulic press, and then I can do some supply, water pumping, oil pumping, refineries. Many outlets are using this principle. Number one is here. What is Pascal's law? First of all, Pascal's principle states that pressure applied at an incompressible fluid in a closed container is transmitted equally in all parts of the fluid. You take this diagram. Come on, listen to this diagram. He is applying pressure on top by using this inject, right? The nozzle is pressed. When he is pressing this nozzle, it is pressing the fluid inside and the pressure is acting on all parts uniformly. You can say uniformly, the pressure that is applied here is spread uniformly onto all parts of the surface or the wall. Okay, see here, initially there are particles, but when applied, you can see the video clearly. Wait, I expand this diagram. This picture is also very good. I take it separately. Force applied at a point is spread or distributed uniformly and equally towards the surface or towards the wall. See, when applied at this point, the force applied at this point by means of injecting right here is spread and distributed towards the wall uniformly. That is important. Meaning you check the pressure here, same, pressure here, same, pressure here, same, here also same, here also same. It is uniformly distributed and the net at the center is called as the total pressure or net pressure acting at this ball or the sphere. So this stands for Pascal's law. And come on, this is an interesting application where you have when you go to car service, your car is lifted and cleaned at the bottom or do some service at the bottom, isn't it? How is it done? All changing a filter, everything is done by this kind of application of Pascal's law. A question here is whether a man can lift a car. If I ask, can you say yes or no? A man can lift a car or not? I'm not talking about the Superman and Spider-Man or Jambawan. I'm talking about a man of 60 kg, say, can lift the car or not? Answer me, please, quickly. No or
yes and no.
What is it? Dangerous answer. Yes, he can. That's the answer. How? Imagine a man of, what is the weight of car, by the way? Weight of car, quickly, Google. What's the weight of the car? Quickly.
What?
Not only one is answering, others also take part, please. Or chat, write in the chat box, what is the weight of the car? Any car, an average. Don't go for Kenchil or what is it?
Yeah,
Axia or Toyota.
1,000 of kilograms.
1,000.
1,003, 1,005.
Where is 1,000? For example, let it be 1,000. I got some number. Now, 1 ton, 1 ton. 1 ton is a car, but man is 60 kg. It is possible by this system, by Pascal's law. What does it mean? A man standing here. Can you see my cursor moving? Come on. This is important. First of all, can you see my slide?
Yeah.
How this is gone already? One moment. Okay. A man of 60 kg standing here. When he is standing here, he can leave the car on the other side. How? What is the principle? Pascal's law. The pressure applied at this point, forget about force for a while and keep it away. Come on, pressure. Pressure applied by the man standing here at 60 kg. When it is standing here, the pressure is evenly distributed all through the fluid. There is a fluid. No fluid, dangerous. I will post a video later how the air and fluid reacts. But it is a fluid liquid, maybe water or any other liquid which is incompressible. So when it is pressed, right, when it is pressed, the pressure is equally distributed all along the fluid, and it is carried on to and distributed to, when it is distributed to a larger area, it can do larger work of lifting even 1 ton. Understand? I repeat, just now my gentleman said yes or no. Now you must have answer only yes. When 60 kg is standing here, right, a man of 60 kg is standing here, he can lift the car by this system, right, by this system, meaning it must be separated by a fluid system. And when he is pressing at one point, because the pressure is evenly distributed, uniformly distributed all along the fluid, and when it is spread, right, or when it is applied over or transferred over or distributed over a larger area, a larger force is created. How is it? Come on, you don't accept me now. Come on, do it mathematically. What is happening? According to Pascal's, pressure applied at a point is equal. P1 is equal to P2. See here, if you say P1, P2, P3, all these things, all are equal because it is acted up, applied at a point, equal. Divided by area is already unit value, so equal. That is the concept. Please bear in mind. Come on, let's solve mathematically. P is defined by force over area, right? It may be amazing how this is done for now, but after learning, it's very simple for you. P is equal to force over area. According to Pascal's, P should be equal, right? P1 is equal to P2 is equal to any point you understand. Like P1 here is should be equal to P2 here. P1 here should be equal to P2 here. That should be equal to a constant value, which is P. That's a principle of Pascal's law. But when you expand it, pressure is defined by force over area. Pressure is defined by force over area. So come on, look at this point, which is force over area of cross section of this point. Area of cross section of this point equated to force over force applied at the other end, right? Force applied at the other end over cross section area of this end must be equal, right? When you restate it in terms of force, it will be F1 over A1 is equal to F2 over A2. Okay, come on, couple this one. One time couple with this guy, another time couple with another one. One time couple with this one, you get what is called F is equal to P times A1. Another time you couple with other color, what will happen? The value P2 times couple with this one. I didn't do wrongly. Okay, couple with the other one, you will have the same value, which is also equal, but the value will be changing. Value is no longer the same, isn't it? Value is no longer the same. I repeat, one time you couple with the first one, which is giving you what is F1. Second time you couple with the other force, which is this one, right? You end up with F2 is equal to P times A2. Come on, if you substitute in terms of value, which will be greater? Which will be greater? This one is greater or this one is greater in terms of cross section? Number one, which cross section is higher? A2 is greater. Automatically, F2 will be greater than F1. Understand? This is the magic and nothing else. Okay, this is the magic. A pressure applied at a point can be distributed to a larger area and is changing to larger work done, or force is very high. I repeat the same sentence here. A larger force is produced when it is distributed to a large area. This technique given by Pascal is very successful in designing your number one brake pedal. The brake pedal, I was just hurling my hardly my foot, thumb, toe, brake pedal, which is pressed by just a thumb area, can stop even a car. These are all the technology application in place using Pascal's law. Number one is brake pedal, hydraulic press, hydraulic lift, and your dustbin. You press one at one corner, lifting a very big lid, right?
It doesn't have lever, right? It doesn't have oil inside. It's just
No, just air. It is another story, a bit different technique, but somewhat relevant to this technology. Okay, I mean this principle, not technology, principle. Okay, the meaning when it is transferred to another media, another surface area which is larger, automatically the pores will be bigger because of area is bigger, right? That's it. So this is how you can have many applications. Come on, let's move on to next application of or behavior of water. I want to show you with the diagram here. Yeah, better I show in the video. Come on, let's watch this video and answer me what's happening. If you know, you answer me. Huh? Come on. One moment. I share for you. If I show you, you remember. That's why I'm giving you. One moment. I share screen. You need to answer a question later. Okay, the same gentleman doing the demonstration for you. If you are here, I bring the unit to class.
Here I have
used to do it in the class.
6 glass tubes, all of different shapes, connected by the same manifold. And what I will do, and the manifold is hollow, and what I will do is pour water into this large tube. This will fill the manifold and cause water to come up into each tube. But the question is, in which tube will the water level be the highest? Will it be the little curlicue, the one with the 3 globes, the straight tube, this zigzag tube, the tube with the square sides, or the large tube? Or will the water level come up to the same height in either?
Okay, answer the question. Which
Same
one?
height? Same height?
Correct question. Answer. Why? Can you justify? Apply the principle and justify. In this module, you must know how to write, understand and write. Come on. Why is it same height? Yes, answer is correct. Why? Okay, come on. Let him answer first, then we will justify something. Water of same density is applied. Number one, water finds its own way.
So as you can see, the water level came to the same height in each of the tubes. Now water likes to seek its own level, and the pressure in a liquid, pressure in the water, depends only on the height in the tube, not the size of the tube, not the shape of the tube. It's just the height, the density of the liquid, and gravity. So it only cares about the vertical height and not the shape of the container it's in.
Okay, we are now moving on to the slowly moving on to the next principle, which is called hydrostatic principle, which is after Pascal's, right? Pascal said about the pressure, right? Pressure applied at a point, how it is distributed, and so on. In this case, he's showing different type of containers, which is when it is applied at one end. When water is supplied or liquid is supplied at one end, it is occupying in the same level, right? Same level for the given water. It is occupying same level in all types of or shapes of containers here. You can take the example of your water tank in your home. Water tank is located at one place, and you have different levels of condominium or apartments, and all people are getting water, isn't it? The same principle, understanding the principle of water as a hydrostatic principle, what is called as hydrostatic principle, we can design a successful water distribution system for a house with different shapes and containers. water tank is circular or square or rectangular, and then pipeline circular, and then turnings are another band. You may use band, you may use pipe of different size at different levels. All these things are successful, continually flowing and constant flowing. It's because of the hydrostatic nature of water. What does it mean? Water which is supplied or stored at one place, when you release, when you switch on the motor, automatically water is getting filled up into the tank, right? And then it is supplied to the various points. So when it is supplied, because water is having a hydrostatic nature, following the hydrostatic principle, it can occupy or it can supply a constant head irrespective of the size, shape, and the thickness of the container in it. Number one, it occupies the shape of the container, right? Whatever the shape it occupies. And number two, it occupies the same height due to same pressure acting at, the pressure at this point is equal to this, equal to this, equal to this, equal to this. Because the pressure is same at the straight line across this point, it attains the equal height, and it shows the hydrostatic nature of the fluid. Come on, mathematically we can understand this. And there's also a good example. You remember I think the school example. Let me define first and then give you another example. Come on, let's move on to hydrostatic principle, which is helpful for you understanding your next topic on continuity. Come on, pressure is, just now we found the pressure is proportion to height. Clear? Or almost equal to height. The height determines the pressure.
Means
right?
the screen is different.
Sorry. We just now saw the height attained is equal, means the pressure attained is same. One moment. Here. Okay, done. Okay. So we just now saw the pressure, because the pressure is constant at all points across the straight line, across all the tubes, you have equal height. In other words, pressure is proportion to the height of water, head of water. To replace this proportionality, what I do, P is equal to rho, gamma times G, gamma times H. Okay, what is gamma? Just now we studied, right? Gamma, gentlemen, gamma. So I told you, remember these things. We come back to this one. Specific weight, unit weight or specific weight. This one, unit weight or specific weight. So the value differs for fluid to fluid. That is why the specific weight coming in. Otherwise, it's same. If you use same liquid throughout the year, so must be constant. By calculating the pressure, you are maintaining a constant head. By maintaining a constant head, whenever you open the tap, you get water. You know, constant head, varying head. In practice, there is a variation, but you have to substitute and then design according to the dimensions and vary the parameters accordingly, so that you have constant head flowing. And thus, whenever you open the tap, you get water. Whenever you open the shower, you get water, right? So this is the application of hydrostatic principle to the water supply design and water distribution network. I repeat, pressure is proportion to H. Just now we see. If the pressure is changed, head will change. Otherwise, it's maintaining a constant value. For different fluid, it will be different. I cannot say same for all. So by varying by means of the times density or specific weight or unit weight, the value will be calculated for different types of fluid. Pressure can be calculated for different types of fluids. Is this clear? That's why whenever the pipeline and the pipeline, just poke the pipeline with the manometer tube. Hey, have you seen manometer tube? Manometer tube, just a tube, plain tube in the physics lab or chemistry lab before. Hey, you do you do online. Okay, let it be a tube, tube of smaller dimension, a smaller cross section, just 1 centimeter like that, 1 centimeter manometer tube. Just poke the pipe, the water will automatically raise due to hydrostatic nature of the fluid. Paper tube, paper tube also can. Okay, for you is a paper tube. For me, it's a manometer tube because it measures pressure. Okay, come on. How to measure it? In a pipeline, just poke with the tube, manometer tube. The water will automatically rise above. So the height of water will give you the, because the pipeline you have to calculate from the center to center. So the height to which it is risen can give you the head of water or otherwise the pressure of water. Okay, so all the designs will follow by calculating the head by using this type of manometer attached to the pipes. That's why P is equal to gamma times H, or H is equal to P over gamma. There are calculations, but due to time constraint, I'm not going to give you calculations, but I give you the theory part only. Is this clear? The same goes to, come on, answer me. Maybe I'm not a good draftsman, still I can manage. See, remember in your school time, imagine there is a water in it, right? Where to poke the hole? I want to poke a hole along this side. I want to poke a hole along this side of the tank container so that I can feed my dog in the garden. Okay, imagine this water tank is kept in my garden. I want to feed my dog. The dog is here. I am not a good draftsman. Just I do something like this. Dog. Dog is here. I just write down. I want to feed the dog. Where to put the hole so that it is a very good jet for my dog to drink good amount of water. I can feed my dog very fast. I got a boy. Bad lady.
What if we drown?
Come on.
Too much water.
Which one I can use it to, where to poke the vessel so that I can feed my dog who is the ground, also on the ground.
What if the dogs want to shower? Do you poke underneath it?
No, for example, I'm telling where to poke. Here, 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 or here. Gentlemen, use the hydrostatic principle. Use the very good point. What most? Hydrostatic principle. Applying hydrostatic principle. Gentlemen, what's your name? Just now answer. What's your name? Use another color. Okay, maybe this color. Who answered just now the bottommost?
Go.
Go. See, go is the perfect answer. Thank you. So he has to put the hole here so that he can get a very good, very nice jet for the dog to drink water. If he puts here, it may be somewhere here. If he puts, oh my handwriting, maybe somewhere here only. The jet is here. And if he puts here, even low like this, isn't it? Like this. Why? Pressure. Come on. Pressure at this point, say P1, P2, P3, nothing there. So when you take the point P1, so much head is there, right? So much head of water is there on top of the point. So you can get a very good amount of value of pressure, right? Very good value of the pressure. But on the other hand, if you use, this is very greater. And the second one is little bit low. And when you take the P3, very less, right? P3 is less, very less. Because the head above this is no water at all, very little water. And this gentleman, little water. This gentleman point at this point. Pressure is acting at a point, don't forget. When you calculate the pressure at this point, he has a head above, is so much head, which is giving the good pressure to push it away, have a strong jet, medium jet, no jet. Okay? Okay, that's it. These are all the principles of hydrostatic nature of the fluid, and then we can have many applications at the end. Come on. Any questions so far? If not, we are going to move on to next big topic, which needs your more understanding. Come on. I want to finish it by today, those theories. Oh, so much. We done, right? Is it clear? Come on. Hydrostatic principle is clear to you? Done. Come on, next principle. If no question means everything clear. Goes to the next one. Archimedes principle, buoyancy, right? Next principle that you have to understand is the buoyancy is a measure of the upward force of a fluid exerts on an object that is submerged. It's just a buoyant force. all materials matters in fluid. Okay, this knowledge is important for processing your materials, fluids, production center, ship, designing the ships, designing submarine, many
Doctor,
applications. Yeah.
so just one question. So in a let's say there is a vacuum. So
Hmm.
in a vacuum, fluid mechanics don't work, right?
Yeah.
Because like the value of G is 0.
Vacuum pressure, we call that as a vacuum pressure. When you
Oh, okay.
evacuate it, remove the air, the system will be under vacuum pressure. No pressure of the air. You put anything, it will be floating.
But like, does the atmospheric pressure affect these values?
When you close the, see, you ask me what happened in the vacuum. Number one, say take the bottle, take the bottle. You remove the air by sucking out, by some way of pumping, suck out the air, right? You close it, close the bottle. Then the bottle inside is kept at vacuum pressure. Okay, number one. You ask about the atmospheric pressure, right? When you remove the air or remove or don't remove the air, just keep the open bottle on the table, right? Or you take your Coke bottle, you use Coke bottle, a tin also. The water bottle also okay. Keep the water bottle open and water bottle having water, maybe half or full or whatever the level. Keep the water bottle open on the table. You can observe atmospheric pressure acting on the surface of the water. Okay, there is some atmospheric pressure acting on it. Unless you evacuate like your soda drinks, they evacuate some portion of the air, and then that's why when you open it, it is pushing out quickly the liquid. Okay, so as long as you keep it open, atmospheric pressure will be acting on the object. It may be solid or liquid or anything. If you remove air and close it, it is no longer acted upon by atmospheric pressure. Is this clear?
Yes, doctor.
Come on, buoyant force. Remember these words. How the, yeah, just now I told you, it is all about how a body behaves inside water. With water, so far is in the atmosphere, in the earth. The material that we learn, density, hydrostatic pressure, all these things, you handle the materials on the earth. Hey, I want to give one more example for this pressure, the head of water. That's why when you go to Genting Highland, the pressure will be high or less. Compare the pressure on the earth. A man who is designing the water tank or working or living on the earth, I mean on the land, in KL, to the Genting Highland. If you are there in the Genting Highland, you will be having less pressure or high pressure. Very good, because amount of air column above is getting down, right? Going down. Yeah. On the earth, you have more air column on your top, so you are acted upon by 101.3 kilopascals. When you go into Genting Highland, already high, the head of water above, the head of air above your head is less, so it will be about 93, 99, 95 like that, not 101. Okay, these are all the importance of your hydrostatic pressure and understanding. Come to Archimedes. Buoyant force. I have to on this here. It's all about how the body behaves in liquids. That is important.
Just a measurement for the principle of measurement, right? Yeah, Archimedes.
Principle of?
Measurement is Archimedes' principle of measurement.
Yeah. It's given after Archimedes. Okay. The water in the pool exerts an upward force. So far, we so far we saw the pressure is acted.
قلبي في عينه
Hi, mute your mic, please.
هذا كان لو عباك سعودينا قالوا انقلبت مركي اللي قالوا كان اتوصل لينا
Mute your mic, please.
في المايك سرت سقف من يذكر هذا عبر ما لك سعودي دي ملهم قال نجح وراعي بيسادي عبر
Done. Finished learning. Class. Come on, let's see our Archimedes. So the pressure was uniformly distributed, so I have no problem to handle it. But when I go to water, it is not so. There is another force acting and some other type of behavior of the fluid you can observe, which is found by, invented or found by, should be discovered by Archimedes. Then the principle is called Archimedes principle. Like last time Pascal's law, this is Archimedes principle. Come on. What's happening when you throw any body into the water or sea, whether it flows, sinks or hangs or suspends is the matter. We have two giants here. One is the buoyant force, another one is the weight. The water in the pool exerts an upward force. Whenever a body is thrown into the liquid, right, the body of water will exert a force onto the object you thrown. That is called upward force. Okay.
It also depends on the density of the liquid.
Hold on. Yeah, yes, correct. Hold on. Don't mix up with the words. Now, slowly, the story starts like this. You throw a ship or a body. A ship is sometimes loaded, unloaded, right? In all conditions, it is floating. These are all the thanks to Archimedes and many other scientists behind. Now, you throw any body into the liquid or water or seawater, automatically there is a force acting onto the body. What is that force? And how much is the value? That is the story of today. Come on, I give more examples here. I mean the definition here. In 10th century before Christ, a Greek mathematician named Archimedes realized that buoyant force is equal to the weight of the fluid displayed by the object. So just now we said when the man is jumping into the water, he will be uplifted by a force that is called buoyant force. And what is the value of the force? If you think, it is the value of the equal value of weight of the volume of water he displayed. Okay, a definition is a bit longer. The force that with which it is uplifted. Later we see what happened to the body, but generally speaking, irrespective of the weight or density of the body, whenever it is thrown into the liquid or in the liquid, it is acted upon by a force called buoyant force, uplift force, and is equal to weight of the fluid displayed by the object. Okay, actually this definition is half. Weight of the fluid equal to the volume of the object. That is important. I don't know why the definition is half. Where I check whether there is a definition, correct definition anywhere. Okay, we will see slowly. The definition is like this: weight of the volume of fluid fluid displayed by the object. Correct here itself. Weight of the fluid equal to the Okay, keep this definition in mind. I will show you by demonstration, then you understand. You will not forget definition. Okay, I have time. Oh, 2 minutes only, God. Okay, let me go to the definition. Let's do this demonstration. What is happening here? You can see two weights. This gentleman will do. Pardon me for taking another few minutes on this. Initially, this is one volume, another volume. Same, both are same volume, right? He is going to do the demonstration of this. How this is true. The uplift force is equal to the weight of the volume of the liquid displayed, right? So this and this of same volume of cylinder are taken. Initially he is weighing an initial weight of this body, and this is aluminum, this is steel. Okay, I repeat, the volume is same, material is different. This is aluminum, this is steel. Volume is same. Aluminum has 12 newtons when it is measured, 12 newtons. And steel, when it is measured by the balance, it is 40 newtons. Okay, 40 newtons, 4 kg, 2 kg, 1.2 kg. Come on, what's happened to this one when it is put into water? In earth, he measured this much weight, but in liquid, the weight changes. That's a story for today. Wait, an issue for today. You need to solve it. Why it is changing the weight? Where is that video? Come on, we have 10 minutes, thank God. This one, where I share it for you. Please follow this video. You will understand what is buoyant force. Okay, come on.
Here I have two cylinders, the same size, but different materials. I have a steel cylinder and an aluminum cylinder, and as you can see, the weight is much different between the two.
It's full, right?
Now I'm going to lower each cylinder into the beaker of water, and the question is, which scale will show a greater reduction in the force? Will it be the one with the aluminum, the one with the steel, or will the reduction be the same for both?
I repeat, this video was not clear.
I have two cylinders, the same size, but different materials. I have a steel cylinder and an aluminum cylinder, and as you can see, the weight is much different between the two. Now I'm going to lower each cylinder into the beaker of water, and the question is, which scale will show a greater reduction in the force? Will it be the one with the aluminum, the one with the steel, or will the reduction be the same for both?
First of all, is there any reduction in the weight, the kg that is measured?
Yeah, if it's lower in the lower.
Well aware. So everyone agree, when it is measured in earth, there is 40 and 2. When it is put into the water, the weight is reduced. That is one concept you are learning. And then how much is reduced? Come on. Any answer? Have you please write in the chat box? Is A, B, or C? Which cylinder will have greater reduction in force?
C.
Steel?
C is the correct answer. Come on.
As you can see, the reduction in the weight is roughly equal between the two cylinders. This is because buoyant force depends on the volume of an object and not the weight of the object.
Clear? I go to the slide and show you once again what's happening. When it is in liquid, it measures, both of them showed inside liquid. I even screenshot here. When it is lowered into the water or any liquid, it was 12 before, reduced to 2.5.
The slide is different.
Oh, sorry. Should be automatically on this computer engineer who have to work on this. Do some more programming to automatic. Whenever I touch this, automatically screenshot, right? Here, when it is inside liquid, it was originally 12, cut 2.5, reduced to 9.5 already. And here also it was originally 40, cut 2.5, it is changed to 37.5, isn't it? So in both case, see inside water, I just screenshot. You can see reduction of 2.5 in both case. Okay, the kg has been reduced to 2.5 in both case. Originally it was 12.5, changed to this, and then 9.5. And then this one, originally it was 40, changed to 30. Or how much is it? 2.5, 1, 2, right? 1, 2, and 0.5. 2.5 is reduced, 37.5. What does it reflect? What is your justification and reflection on this? Both of them have displayed equal mass of water when it is inside the water, irrespective of the density of the material, irrespective of the type of the material. Both of them have displayed equal amount of liquid, showing the equivalence of buoyant force. Is that clear?
Doctor?
Yes.
Why is the sphere, the cylinder on the right, why is it sink more in the water?
No, it's just a video. Keep changing. You can assume to be they are lowered at same depth. Assume, okay? Just video shaking. It seems a bit different. Assume that they are lowered at the same depth. Okay? Then it shows difference in weight means there is a reduction in weight because they are inside the liquid. Why they reduce? They displayed or drain off equal amount of liquid. That is why the weight is reduced. Is this clear? Okay. This is Pro 1. Accordingly, you have 3 states of the. Sir, I take another 5 minutes. Sorry, sir. 5 minutes. Just last slide. Accordingly, you have 3 states of the body. Just now we had 3 states of body. When it is lowered into the liquid, you will have 3 states. Number 1 is positive buoyancy. Number 2 is neutral buoyancy. Number 3 is negative buoyancy. What are the states? When a body is put inside water, right? Just lowered into the water. When the weight of an object is less than the weight of the liquid volume which is displayed, then it floats. Okay, weight is more and displayed volume is liquid, it can float. On the other hand, if each balances, right? If both force of buoyancy, the upward force that is acting on the body is balanced by the weight, it can get to the position of suspended, like submarine inside the sea. They can hide at required height, be in position, fighting for the enemy, right? That means they are balanced. If you design a submarine in such a way that the buoyant force which is acting upward when it is in liquid is balanced by the weight of the submarine, it is coming to the suspended situation. State. Negative buoyancy. When the weight of an object is greater than the weight of an equal volume of displayed fluid, then it sinks. Okay, it has displayed only this much volume, right? It has displayed only this much volume, so it will sink to the bottom.
Can I say the buoyancy force?
FB is a buoyancy force. It is pushed upward, right? That is a buoyant force.
No,
when you throw the object, it pushed upward, right? That is a buoyant force. Whether it floats, hangs, or settles down depends on density of the liquid and the weight of the body. Okay. I mean, I should not use the word density, not just density, weight. Weight of the, I mean, density of the liquid changes the weight, right? So that's why I'm saying density of the liquid. Okay, I stop here. The other lecturer has come, only 3 minutes left for him. Okay, any question? I stop here. We'll continue. Yeah, yep.
What is the difference between stress and pressure?
Okay. Pressure, in simple word, I say pressure is used application at a point. Okay, at a point. It may be most commonly used in. It is most commonly used in liquids. Okay. When you come to stress, the way this is the same unit, same kind of force over area. When you come to the solids, the way it is distributed. Actually, when you apply a force on a body, it is an application of stress. It is called application of stress, not application of pressure. Okay, only the terminology is changing. In solids, we use the term stress. In liquids, we use the term pressure. All right.
Okay, thank you, Miss.
Unit is same. Okay, bye bye. We will see you next class. Get ready for the test. Okay, bye. What?
What test?
Next test. Thursday.
Oh.
Thank you, doctor.
You're welcome. Bye. I stop here. You have to get up and do all these things.
Oh, I think
Hey, you